Hey, 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 Enomaniacs! Welcome back to your ultimate destination for the coolest TV shows, movies, and everything pop culture. It's your host, Anna, and today, we're diving headfirst into the eerie, electrifying world of Stranger Things. In this video, I'm breaking down episode 1 of season 1, titled The Vanishing of Will Byers. From hidden clues to jaw-dropping moments, I've got all the details you might have missed. So, grab your egos and buckle up. It's about to get strange. Stranger Things kicks off in 1983 in the small town of Hawkins, Indiana. The vibe? Totally nostalgic. The show hooks us right away with that mysterious lab scene. Scientists running for their lives, flickering lights, and bam, the Demogorgon shows up. Enomaniacs, did you notice the alarm sound in the lab? It's not just noise, it hints at how the Upside Down starts to break through into our world. What a genius way to start the series, right? Let me know in the comments. What was your first impression of the Demogorgon? Terrifying, or are you secretly rooting for it? Next, we meet our favorite gang of nerdy kids, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will, having a late-night Dungeons & Dragons session. This scene tells us so much about their personalities. Mike is clearly the leader, Dustin's the comic relief, Lucas is the skeptical realist, and Sweet Will, is the heart of the group. But things go sideways when Will disappears on his bike ride home. Enomaniacs, can we take a moment to appreciate how this show captures the 80s vibes so perfectly? From the kids' outfits to their lingo, it's like we've traveled back in time. Oh, and those eerie vibes when Will faces the Demogorgon, pure nightmare fuel. Now let's talk about. She's this mysterious, quiet girl with a shaved head who shows up at Benny's diner. From the moment we meet her, you just know she's important. Enomaniacs, remember the moment she flips the fan in Benny's kitchen? That's when you realize she's got some serious powers. But why is she on the run? And what's up with that tattoo? 011. Fun fact, Millie Bobby Brown shaved her head for this role and totally crushed it. The dedication. She said she was inspired by Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road. Talk about girl power. Back to the Byers family. Joyce, played by the phenomenal Winona Ryder, starts freaking out when Will doesn't come home. She's so convincing as a mom on the edge, don't you think? And that first creepy phone call? Chills. Meanwhile, Chief Hopper enters the story as the no-nonsense cop with a troubled past. But you can already tell he's going to play a huge role in finding Will, and maybe more. And let's not forget the Christmas lights. An iconic moment is coming soon, Enomaniacs. The first episode ends with so many questions. Where's Will? What's the deal with 11? And what the heck is the Upside Down? But that's what makes Stranger Things so amazing. It sucks you in and leaves you wanting more. Enomaniacs, what's your favorite moment from episode 1? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going. Riddle me this. What happens when you find a shaved-headed girl with superpowers, a missing boy stuck in a shadowy dimension, and a bloodthirsty monster lurking by the pool? That's right, it's Stranger Things. If you thought episode 1 was wild, buckle up. This one's where things get serious. Secrets, suspense, and oh yeah, rip Barb. Let's break it all down. Today, we're talking about Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street. Get ready for twists, monsters, and a whole lot of suspense. Let's dive in. So we pick up where we left off in Episode 1. The boys, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin, bring 11 to Mike's house. Poor Elle has no idea what's happening, but she ends up crashing in the basement like a secret guest. While Dustin and Lucas think she's trouble and just a distraction from finding Will, Mike isn't convinced. He's determined to help her. Mike even gives her a nickname, Elle. How cute is that? But there's trouble. Elle warns Mike not to tell anyone about her. Why? Because bad people are looking for her. Spooky, right? That's not even the half of it. The next day, Elle sees a picture of Will at Mike's house and points him out. But here's where things get really creepy. She uses Mike's Dungeons & Dragons board to show them where Will is. She flips the board upside down to explain he's in some dark, otherworldly place. Yep, the famous Upside Down is introduced right here. Meanwhile, Hawkins is buzzing with the search for Will. Hopper's investigating Benny's suicide. But something smells fishy. Why would Will randomly show up at the diner in a hospital gown? Hopper digs deeper, heading to Hawkins' lab, where more mystery oozes, literally. Scientists find this weird, slimy substance at Joyce's house. What even is that stuff? And let's talk about Nancy and Barb. Nancy, trying to impress Steve, ditches her good girl vibe to go to his party. Poor Barb, the ultimate bestie, tags along but feels super out of place. When Barb cuts her hand trying to open a beer can, things go south, fast. As Nancy heads inside with Steve, Barb stays by the pool. That's when it happens. The pool lights flicker and we hear this low growling sound. Barb turns around and bam! The Demogorgon drags her into the Upside Down. Rip Barb, you were too pure for Hawkins. Back at the Byers' house, Joyce gets another call from Will. But this time she hears music from his room and, brace yourselves, something tries to come through the wall. Can you imagine? Joyce is barely holding it together, and honestly, who wouldn't be? This episode also sets up some huge moments for the series. We see Hopper defending Joyce, showing that he's not just the grumpy sheriff we thought he was. Mike hides 11 in his closet, but it freaks her out, triggering a flashback to her horrible time in the lab. And Jonathan takes a trip to see his dad, Lonnie, but it's a dead end. He ends up snapping creepy photos at Steve's party instead, because why not? Episode 2 is packed with tension, mystery, and even a bit of heartbreak. From Barb's tragic disappearance to Joyce's terrifying phone calls, we're officially hooked. And what's the deal with 11's powers? Who are the dangerous people chasing her? And most importantly, will they ever find Will? That's it for today, Maniacs. What did you think about the weirdo on Maple Street? Do you think Hopper's onto something with his investigation? And let's hear it for Barb. Gone but not forgotten. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more Stranger Things breakdowns. See you in the Upside Down. Welcome back, Maniacs. Get ready, because today we're diving deep into Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 3, Holly Jolly. This is the episode where the stakes go through the roof, the horror takes center stage, and the emotional gut punches just keep coming. We've got mystery, heartbreak, and one of the most shocking endings of the season, so buckle up and let's get into it. We start with Barb Holland alone, terrified and gasping for air in a place that looks like Steve's backyard pool. But horribly wrong. The water is gone, the sky is pitch black, and the air is filled with eerie floating dust particles. Barb screams for Nancy, desperately trying to escape, but something is lurking. Before she can get out, the monstrous Demogorgon grabs her and drags her back into the darkness. And just like that, Barb is gone. Meanwhile, Nancy wakes up in Steve's bed, blissfully unaware that her best friend is missing. She sneaks home wearing Steve's sweatshirt, only to be confronted by her mother, Karen Wheeler, who immediately senses something is off. Nancy plays it cool, brushing off her mom's concerns, but deep down, something doesn't feel right. Over at the Byers house, Joyce is descending deeper into her obsession. She is convinced Will is communicating through the Christmas lights, flickering in patterns that she believes are messages. Jonathan walks in on her talking to the lights, and while he loves his mother, he's genuinely worried she's losing her grip on reality. But Joyce isn't just clinging to false hope. Something is trying to reach her. Meanwhile, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas regroup with 11, determined to find Will. Lucas arrives armed with his father's old Vietnam survival gear, while Dustin, in classic Dustin fashion, prioritizes snacks over weapons. The team argues about whether 11's abilities are real or not, but they decide to trust her. Mike gives 11 his watch and tells her to meet them at the power lines after school, completely unaware of the horrors that are about to unfold. At school, Nancy starts to notice Barb is missing, and the unease starts creeping in. She asks around, but nobody has seen her. Meanwhile, in the darkroom, Jonathan is developing the photos from the night before. Photos that include Barb sitting alone by the pool, moments before she vanished. Just then, Steve and his gang find the pictures, rip them up, and smash Jonathan's camera, humiliating him in front of the school. But Nancy manages to grab a torn piece of a photo, a picture of Barb. Back at Mike's house, 11 is left alone, and this is where things get truly eerie. She flips through TV channels and sees a Coca-Cola commercial, which triggers a flashback to Hawkins Lab. We see Dr. Brenner watching as 11 crushes a Coke can with her mind, a cruel experiment to push her abilities. Back in the present, 11 is lost in these painful memories, slowly realizing she's more than just a scared girl. She's a weapon. As the day unfolds, Nancy goes back to Steve's backyard searching for clues. She finds Barb's car still parked there, a chilling sign that something is terribly wrong. Then, in the woods, she sees something, a shadowy figure moving unnaturally. She runs home in terror. Meanwhile, Hopper's investigation is heating up. He notices the security footage at Hawkins Lab doesn't match reality. There was a storm the night Will disappeared, but the footage shows clear skies. Someone is lying. Hopper's instincts tell him the lab is at the center of this mystery, but he has no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes. Back at the Byers house, the Christmas lights start blinking in a pattern, and Joyce watches in horror as the lights spell out a single word, R-I-G-H-T-H-E-R-E. Joyce, realizing she can communicate with Will, paints the alphabet on her wall and strings lights under each letter. She asks, "Where are you?" And Will responds, "Run." Suddenly the wall starts bulging and pulsating like it's alive, and then the Demogorgon bursts through. Joyce screams in terror and runs out of the house, but she doesn't give up. She knows her son is out there. Just as this is happening, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin follow a group of police cars speeding through town. They reach the quarry and watch in horror as Will's lifeless body is pulled from the water. Mike is devastated. He trusted 11, and she said Will was alive. Feeling betrayed, he yells at her and bikes home in tears. At the same time, Joyce runs into Jonathan, sobbing as she clings to him, refusing to believe what she's seeing. The episode ends with a gut-wrenching silence, and we are left wondering, is Will really dead, or is something else happening here? Now let's talk character breakdown and review. Joyce Byers, played by Winona Ryder, delivers an incredible performance in this episode. Joyce is desperate but determined, refusing to accept the reality being forced on her. Her belief in Will, despite everyone calling her crazy, makes her the true heart of the show. Watching her interact with the lights and push past her own fear is one of the most powerful moments in the series so far. Mike Wheeler, portrayed by Finn Wolfhard, sees his faith in 11 shatter in this episode. His rage when he sees Will's body being pulled from the water is raw and real. He trusted 11, and now he feels like he's lost everything. 11, played by Millie Bobby Brown, gives us some of the most chilling insights into her past in this episode. Seeing her crush the Coke can in the flashback reminds us that she's been through horrific experiments since childhood. But the worst part? Brenner praises her for it. 11's struggle between being a child and a dangerous experiment is heartbreaking and terrifying. Nancy Wheeler, played by Natalia Dyer, starts stepping into her own mystery in this episode. She realizes Steve's friends don't care about Barb, and she's the only one asking questions. The moment she sees the shadowy figure in the woods is the moment she realizes her world isn't as safe as she thought. Chief Jim Hopper, portrayed by David Harbour, shows brilliant detective work in this episode. He knows something is off about Hawkins Lab, and his realization that the security footage is fake shows just how sharp he is. He's a man who trusts his gut, and his gut is telling him something is very, very wrong. This episode is pure Stranger Things perfection. I want to give it 9 out of 10. The horror, the emotion, the mystery, everything hits just right. From Joyce's frantic desperation to the shocking death of Will, this episode leaves us shaken and desperate for answers. What do you think, Enomaniacs? Did this episode break your heart? What do you think happened to Will? Drop your theories in the comments. Today, we're diving deep into Season 1, Episode 4, The Body. This is the episode where things really start heating up. Unlike the first 3 episodes, which focused more on mystery and setting up the world, this one delivers major reveals, intense emotions, and thrilling moments. The story picks up right after the shocking discovery of Will's so-called body, and from here, everything starts unraveling fast. The suspense is dialed up to the max, and we start to see the cracks in the carefully crafted lies surrounding Hawkins. Joyce Byers is the heart of this episode, and let me just say, Winona Ryder is phenomenal. Her performance is next level as she refuses to accept the truth about Will's death. Everyone around her, from Jonathan to Hopper, thinks she's losing her mind, but she refuses to back down. And honestly, she's the strongest person in the room. The moment when she sees the Demogorgon emerge from the wall and then swings at it with an axe is one of the most chilling moments in the episode. Even though she's scared out of her mind, she's not running away. Joyce is a mother on a mission, and nothing is going to stop her from finding her son. Hopper, on the other hand, proves why he's one of the smartest guys in Hawkins. Right from the start, he knows something isn't adding up about Will's body. Instead of accepting what the authorities are telling him, he starts digging. And when he sneaks into the morgue, absolute madness. The moment he slices open Will's so-called body and realizes it's stuffed with cotton, that's the kind of game-changing moment that takes this show to the next level. The best part? Hopper isn't just going to let this go. He heads straight to Hawkins Lab, and you just know he's about to uncover even bigger secrets. Meanwhile, 11 continues to be an absolute scene stealer. First, she taps into the radio and lets the boys hear Will's voice, proving that he's still alive and somewhere in the Upside Down. This is a huge moment because it's the first real confirmation that Will isn't actually dead. Then, at school, we get one of the most satisfying moments of the episode. Troy, the school bully, tries to humiliate Mike, but 11 isn't having any of it. With just a flick of her powers, she makes Troy wet his pants in front of everyone. Absolute legend. Every time 11 uses her powers, it's a reminder that she's insanely powerful, but also incredibly vulnerable. She's still just a scared little girl trying to survive in a world that treats her like a weapon instead of a person. Now, if there's anything that slows the episode down a little, it's the Nancy and Jonathan scenes. Their investigation into Barb's disappearance is important, but it doesn't have the same level of urgency as the rest of the episode. That said, there are some key moments here. Nancy realizes that Barb is truly missing, and Jonathan starts putting the pieces together about the monster lurking in Hawkins. Their storyline is definitely building towards something big, even if it feels like a slow burn right now. And then, there's Steve. Yeah, he's still acting like a selfish jerk. His main concern seems to be his reputation rather than the fact that Barb is missing. Instead of supporting Nancy, he's more focused on partying and keeping his image intact. At this point, it's really hard to root for him, but here's the real question. Does he deserve a second chance? That's something we'll have to see as the show goes on. Will he step up and do the right thing? Or will he stay the guy who only cares about himself? Overall, I'd rate this episode a solid 7.5 out of 10. It's a fantastic episode with gripping storytelling, a creepy atmosphere, and a major turning point in the series. This is where things start getting really serious. Joyce refuses to back down, Hopper begins unraveling the truth, and 11 continues to show just how powerful she is. It's an episode full of intensity, heartbreak, and mystery, and it leaves us on the edge of our seats. That's it for today, Enamaniacs. Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite moment from this episode? And do you think Steve deserves a second chance, or is he just the worst? Chapter 5, The Flea and the Acrobat. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because you know you don't want to miss a second of this ride. This episode, pure chaos in the best way. We've got secret labs, alternate dimensions, friend group meltdowns, and a cliffhanger so intense it should come with a warning. Everyone's heading off on their own side quest, and it's clear the stakes are getting dangerously high. Let's start with my man Hopper. This guy's intuition is off the charts. He knows Hawkins Lab is shady, so what does he do? Breaks in like a total boss. And you know it's serious when a tough guy like Hopper starts looking genuinely freaked out. But just when he finds something huge, bam! He's knocked out and wakes up at home like nothing happened. The paranoia is real, and I am here for it. On the flip side, we've got Joyce, still the MVP of believing in your kid no matter what. She's connecting more dots than anyone, and then Lonnie shows up with his bare minimum parenting and his manipulative nonsense. Seriously, this dude's gotta go. But through it all, Joyce stays focused on the truth, and honestly, she's the bravest character on this show. Meanwhile, the kids? They're out here trying to science their way to the upside down. Shout out to Dustin for his brilliant magnetic north theory. It's like Stranger Things meets Bill Nye. But just when it feels like they're getting somewhere, the group totally falls apart. 11's keeping secrets, Lucas is losing trust, and Mike's caught in the middle. Y'all, this friend breakup hurts. And then there's Nancy. Our girl finds a creepy tree portal, and because horror movie rules apply, she goes in alone. Spoiler, it goes badly. When that Demogorgon shows up, I was yelling at my screen. But hey, credit where it's due. Nancy's brave, maybe a little too brave. And that cliffhanger, I'm still not over it. Here's what's clear. Everyone's getting closer to the truth, but they're falling apart when they need each other most. The tension's rising, the stakes are sky high, and if they don't start working together soon, well, let's just say it's not looking good for anyone. This episode sets up some serious fireworks for what's next. Alright, Enamaniacs, what's your take on episode 5? Do you think the gang can pull it together in time, or are we heading for total disaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button. In Chapter 6, The Monsters, Betrayal, Telekinetic Badassery. This episode has everything. Jonathan's throwing punches, 11's breaking arms, and Mike? Yeah, Mike jumps off a freaking cliff. Why? Stick around because we're diving into all the chaos, right now. So grab your egos and let's get into it. Alright, we kick off this episode with Nancy barely escaping the upside down, thanks to Jonathan pulling her back. And after that terrifying experience, she does not want to be alone. So she asks Jonathan to stay over. Meanwhile, our boy Steve? Yeah. He spots them through her window and immediately jumps to conclusions. Classic jealous boyfriend move. On the friendship front, things are not looking good. Lucas is still mad at 11 for knocking him out, and he decides to search for Will on his own. Dustin tries playing the peacemaker, but nope, these boys are not listening. But Mike and Dustin have bigger problems. Because guess what? The school bullies are back, and this time they mean business. Troy literally pulls a knife on Dustin and tells Mike to jump off a cliff. I mean, what? And Mike actually jumps. But don't worry, Enomaniacs, our Queen 11 is here with a big damn hero moment. She stops Mike mid-fall, breaks Troy's arm with her powers, and sends those bullies running for their lives. Moral of the story? Never mess with 11. Meanwhile, Joyce and Hopper dig deeper into 11's past and find Terry Ives, who's basically in a catatonic state after some super shady government experiments. And guess what? They realize 11 is actually Terry's daughter, Jane. Plot twist. Okay, but can we talk about Jonathan snapping on Steve? After Steve and his goons start slut-shaming Nancy and mocking Jonathan's family, our boy just loses it. And let's be real, Steve had it coming. But things get messy when Jonathan accidentally punches a cop and gets arrested. Yikes. And last but not least, we see 11 struggling with her identity. After everything that's happened, she starts to believe she is the monster. She even steals Eggos from a store and takes down a security guard with her powers. Uh-oh. Is 11 going down a dark path? So, Enomaniacs, what did you think of episode 6? Was Jonathan right to beat up Steve? Is 11 turning to the dark side? And how do we feel about Mike's totally unnecessary cliff jump? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget, Eggos make everything better. Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 7, The Bathtub. And let me tell you, this episode had my emotions doing gymnastics. Let's get into it first with the recap, and then a quick and spicy review. Okay, first of all, Lucas to the rescue. My guy Lucas proves once again why he's the MVP. The stalker repairman and his creepy candy van crew are closing in, and it's time for our bike riding squad to make a break for it. And then, oh man, we get one of the most iconic moments of the entire season. 11 sees Papa and the fear on her face just breaks you. But she pushes through because she's a total queen, and flips a freaking van with her mind. I will never get over how cool that was. The special effects team deserved every penny. Once everyone's safe-ish, we get a rare moment of calm. Apologies are made, and the group is finally back on the same page. But this is Hawkins, people, so we know that peace won't last long. Meanwhile, Joyce and Hopper roll up to the police station because Jonathan's been arrested, because of course he has. And when a deputy tries to stop Joyce, please. Joyce was ready to go full axe-wielding warrior against a Demogorgon. This deputy? Not even a challenge. And can we talk about Steve? Just when I'm ready to write him off forever, this dude starts showing some real growth. One minute he's a total jerk, the next he's looking all earnest and remorseful. Steve, pick a lane, my guy. But I can't help it. He's starting to win me over. Back at the Byers house, the government men finally catch up to the kids. But guess who shows up just in time? Hopper. And in classic Hopper fashion, he solves the problem the only way he knows how, by punching it. And you know what? I respect that. Finally, we get some teamwork. Joyce, Hopper, 11, and the rest of the kids sit around the kitchen table and actually share information. The upside-down road trip rescue mission is coming together, and I'm here for it. Also, can Hopper just adopt 11 already? He would be like 1,000 times better than that nightmare Papa guy. But before we get to the rescue, we need some science. And when's the best time to call your science teacher for advice on building a sensory deprivation tank? Oh, 10 p.m. Shout out to Mr. Clark for always coming through. The gang builds a DIY tank out of a kiddie pool and rock salt, and it's the weirdest science fair project I've ever seen, but it works. Inside the tank, 11 takes a solo trip to the Upside Down and things get dark. We finally get confirmation that Barb is, well, gone. R.I.P. Barb, you deserved better. But there's hope. 11 finds Will and he's still alive, for now. But his hiding spot? Yeah, that's about to be discovered by the Demogorgon. And just when you think we're gonna get some answers, boom, the episode ends. Stranger Things, why must you hurt me like this? That's it. Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 8, The Upside Down. An episode so insane it'll crush your soul, resurrect it, then throw it straight back into the darkness. We've got mind-melting powers, monster chaos, government betrayals, and the most unexpected Steve Harrington flex of all time. So grab your Eggos, kill the lights, and let's tear open the Upside Down. We open with Joyce being the absolute badass she is, facing off against Papa aka Dr. Brenner. And let me tell you, watching her rip into him is deeply satisfying. She is not here for his manipulative nonsense. Meanwhile, Hopper is making deals left and right with the terrifying government agents, all to get into the Upside Down. Risky? Yes. But it works, and soon he and Joyce are suiting up to find Will. And then, boom, a gut punch of a flashback. Hopper's past unravels before us, showing the devastating loss of his daughter. Seeing him break down in the stairwell? No, thank you, I did not sign up for this emotional damage. Back in the real world, Jonathan and Nancy are setting up their monster trap, only to be rudely interrupted by none other than Steve Harrington, the guy who just can't take a hint. Seriously, Steve, now is not the time. But the dude redeems himself in record time, because the Demogorgon shows up and suddenly, baseball bat in hand, Steve is in full survival mode. His realization that Nancy is into demon slaying rather than high school drama is pure comedy gold, and honestly, it makes his character arc one of the most unexpected joys of this season. The chaos that follows? Pure cinematic perfection. Bear traps, fire, and a Demogorgon that just won't die. Meanwhile, 11 is out here showing no mercy. She's snapping necks with her mind, her power is at full force, and she is absolutely terrifying. But when she finally turns on Papa, it's cathartic. The guy had it coming, and seeing the Demogorgon take him down? Beautiful. But this moment of triumph is short-lived because things are about to get devastating. Hopper and Joyce finally find Will in the Upside Down, and it's a full-blown nightmare. He's unconscious, there's a horrifying tube in his mouth, and for a moment it feels like all hope is lost. The show masterfully cuts between this terrifying scene and more flashbacks of Hopper's daughter dying in the hospital, and at this point, I am a sobbing mess. But then, just when you think it's over, Will breathes. He's alive, and yet the relief doesn't even last because over in the school, 11 is facing her final battle. The Demogorgon is back, and the boys try everything. Guns, slingshots, anything they can get their hands on. But nothing works. And then, in one of the most heartbreaking moments of the show, 11 turns to Mike, whispers a soft goodbye, and disintegrates both the monster and herself into nothing. Just like that, she's gone. And Mike's face? It's enough to break you. The room is silent, the dust settles, and there's no way to process what just happened. A month later, we get a seemingly happy ending. The boys are back to playing D&D, the town is moving on, and for a second, everything feels normal. But Stranger Things isn't about to let us off that easily. 2 final bombshells drop. Hopper mysteriously leaving Eggos in the woods, and Will coughing up a horrifying slug-like creature in his bathroom sink. And just like that, the show has us hooked for season 2. This episode was a masterclass in tension, emotion, and storytelling. It gave us closure while leaving just enough mystery to make us desperate for more. 11's sacrifice, Hopper's backstory, Will's terrifying connection to the Upside Down, every moment hit hard, and now there's no choice but to move on to the next season because Stranger Things just doesn't let go. What did you think, Enomaniacs? Were you as emotionally wrecked as I was? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. And if you loved this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon because we've got so much more coming your way. Stay safe, keep your lights flickering, and I'll see you in the next one.